Hi viewers, thank you once again joining the next episode of Telecom Legend. And today's Telecom Legend is Mr. P. Balaji, who is a very dear friend, who is very well known in the industry, one of very highly qualified IIT, IM, IM Ahmedabad master, and a person who has handled varied assignments in telecom. So instead of me talking about it, this whole episode is basically about making everyone aware that country has in 25 years progressed a lot from the time when there used to be one telephone connection in the whole neighborhood. From that stage today, each one of us are carrying so many phones, and practically everybody has got a phone. So Mr. Balaji has seen that journey very closely. So Mr. Balaji, please just tell us about your journey and also how you saw this 25 years of telecom growth.
Arvind, as always, delightful. So you can, from this point on, you will drop the Mister because we always call ourselves by first name. So I'm Balaji for you, and I'll always be just like you'll be Arvind for me. So it's been a fabulous journey for the country and for telecom as a whole. I recall when I put up my hand in the Tata Group to join telecom. People said you're committing potential, harakiri with your career because this sector is totally unknown. But then Tatas have always been a pioneer, and there were many other entrepreneurs and pioneers that were at that point of time looking at telecom as a revolution, something which was forward-looking and which could shape the destiny of our nation. And so that's the spirit that drove me into the sector. And looking back to your point, I think communities were connected with one phone in the neighborhood, and now communities are connected with 1.1 billion mobile devices in the country, right? So journey of telecom for the country has been immense. When I look at in the context of GDP, 1990, 91, our nation was hardly $275 billion, and today it's nearly $3.5 trillion economy, and that too, when you look at it in rupee terms, it's significantly higher because the dollar was hardly 14-15 rupees at that time. It's now 80. So obviously the size of growth, the scale of growth has been phenomenal. And where we are, and if you look ahead, because that's equally important for our young listeners and viewers, then clearly what the Prime Minister and the government has spoken about, what industry is talking about, is anywhere give or take in 2047 a $40-45 trillion economy. So not only have we come a long way, but the path ahead is significantly higher. And if I look at it from a broader point of view, what we saw digital do to get us to a $3.5 trillion economy, it still has to do a lot more, and it will do a lot more in creating impact for the future. I mean, just from about $175 billion, that is the size of the digital economy. Imagine in 7 to 10 years, we're going to be 1 trillion. I mean, that's the kind of growth that India offers, and that's the kind of opportunity that exists for the youngsters of today. So whether it's 5G, whether it's 6G, on which India will take lead, whether it is AI or technology of that kind, which will create opportunities. The fact is, number one, digital was important before. Digital will be even more important in the future. While technology is important in taking the complexities behind the screen, at the same time, the service delivery, which is going to happen in real world, is even more important. Therefore, we are going to be having a need for people that are able to work in a physical world, physical and digital world. And the third part, which is important, is that as India takes the lead in technology, it's already taking the lead in many technology areas. The fact is that the role of MSMEs, the 60 million odd MSMEs, and the role of entrepreneurs and self-employed individuals will even grow in the future. So I think those are the three mega trends looking forward. And that's my view of where we are on the cusp of future growth.
So Balaji, like I've been always a big admirer. 15 years back, you were probably one of the youngest CEO of a multinational telecom company. And still you have stayed such a modest lifestyle and behavior. So, what makes you achieve that? Like normally, like when we achieve success, it goes in our head, and sometimes it is visible. But you have been very, very modest. So, some advice to us.
I think God is kind. I must say one thing that it's also जो संस्कार जिसकी बात करते हैं, and what you build as values is what you learn in your early childhood, in the kind of people that you uh, you know uh, deal with, who teach you your. I mean, Guru Purnima was, yes, Guru Purnima was just gone by, and so obviously in that context, to have the humility of saying that you have to learn all the time from gurus that will teach you life lessons, not just skills, is a very important part of that journey. Whether it's my parents, my wife, or my daughter, all of them have a role to play. Family, in other words, in simple terms, has a big role to play. Friends around you, well-wishers, and the more you create a ring of well-wishers, the better you find yourself, rooted to reality. And when you look around, you find so many people who have struggled a lot more than you have, who have fabulous journeys and stories to share. There's so much to learn around you by just looking at uh, individuals and looking at great institutions. Right, as I told you, I started my working career with Tata's. I mean, and just look at their legacy or their history, and you just realize that there's so much to learn on how to stay rooted uh, and focus on not what you've done so far, but to say what can you do more in the future. As long as you keep that perspective कि अभी तो बहुत आगे काम करना है, तो अपने आप वो grounding हो जाती है, and that's how you stay rooted uh, to reality and to appreciate everybody around you.
So, Balaji, you're also very, very special for us because you have been Vice President, Telecom Sector Skill Council. You're Vice President Emeritus as far as TSSC is concerned. So, you have such an immense experience of the industry and also skill ecosystem. What's your advice to the youth, especially when we talk about international employment?
No, brilliant. I think that's an excellent question. I think India is in that great space right now, and on leading global innovation. India is in a space where we are literally creating solutions for the global south. I think both are equally important. Not only are we creating innovation for the world, but we're also kind of creating solutions for the global south. And that's because the Prime Minister and the government have shown a vision. They have listened to industry, and industry has stepped up dramatically. Entrepreneurs have stepped up dramatically to create that vibrancy where Indian talent is being recognized world over as critical for growth in the globe. And that's the external environment, right? Within that, I think, and you know the journey about when we started nearly a decade ago in TSSC. None of us envisaged that we'll get to a stage where we'll get 1 million plus people trained, right? I mean, that's a big number in just telecom alone, right? That we would have a huge repository of course and curriculum in surveys, in handset, in passive infrastructure network, right? As a founding members, when we all started together, we didn't have that thing on what could be achieved, but it got achieved because जब लोग चलना शुरू होते हैं तो और लोग जुड़ जाते हैं, and it just becomes a movement from just being a small, एक मंडली से एक movement शुरू हो जाती है ना, तो एक वो वाली कहानी है. And in
लोग
such a
जुड़ते
situation,
गए, काफला बनता गया.
काफिला बढ़ता गया. तो सही कहा. तो उस सिलसिले में अगर हम देखें तो आज की तारीख में जो जो आज के युवक हैं, तो वो हमारे फ्यूचर ही नहीं, वो they have the ability to build on a strong foundation, right? Whether our company has done something small with Arvind, you and your team, in terms of a skill center in 5G AI/ML for in the Indira Gandhi Delhi Technical University for women, right? We've done that, but we've got so many of them that TSSC has done, right? And they give all kinds of training and opportunities for youngsters. All they have to figure out is कि मुझे skilled होना है, मुझे सक्षम होना है, और मैं सक्षम रहूंगा तो मैं अपना रास्ता खुद ढूंढ लूंगा, ढूंढ लूंगी. Now, to my mind, the opportunities are there to learn, the opportunities are there to get deployed, because today everybody sees India as the skills workforce of the future, with the dividend of youth and so on. अब people just have to literally गोता खाना है उसमें, और जितने मोती निकालने हैं, बस it's as simple as that now.
सो बालाजी, हमने आपको आईएमसी में देखा, प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी को आप वोडाफोन आइडिया के जो स्टॉल में 5G के बहुत सारे यूज केसेस दिखा रहे थे, तो हमें भी थोड़ा बताइए, क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग, हेल्थ केयर, हेल्थ डिलीवरी, एफएमसीजी, एजुकेशन, इन सब जगहों पे 5G का क्या यूज रहने वाला है और क्या क्या रहने वाला है?
नहीं, आपने बहुत अच्छा सवाल पूछा। तो ये तो उनका बड़प्पन है कि वो मोदी जी सबके सुनते हैं, और he tries to see how it can impact the citizens and the country at large. But as Vodafone Idea, हम लोग का ये प्रयास रहा है कि there's a belief that we have that what work we do, connectivity and digital solutions, can have a huge impact on the country at large. वो हमारी धारणा है, हमें आई थिंक टेलीकॉम सेक्टर की धारणा एक तरह से यही रही है। तो उस सिलसिले में अगर हम देखें तो 5G के जो यूज केसेस हैं, वहाँ हम लोगों ने ज़्यादा दर्शाया था ऑन दी स्मार्ट एग्री सोल्यूशन, और उसमें हमने ये दिखाया था कि भाई आप सेंसर्स के द्वारा, IoT के द्वारा, क्लाउड के द्वारा, AI के द्वारा काफ़ी सारे कॉम्प्लेक्स पैरामीटर्स फील्ड से लेके आप ले जा सकते हैं, उसकी रियल टाइम में एनालिसिस करके फार्मर्स को सीधे तरीके से समझा सकते हैं कि उसके बेस पे वो लोग क्या करें, जिससे कि उनकी लागत हो जाए आधी और उनकी उत्पादन हो जाए दुगनी। तो एक वो सोल्यूशन था जिसमें 4G, 5G, AI, क्लाउड का हमने एक एग्जांपल दिया था। फिर हम लोगों ने वर्कर सेफ्टी की बात की थी उस टाइम पे, जहाँ पे हमने ये दिखाया था कि by using 5G and captive networks, how you can create safety and security by joining it to the larger public network, how to provide from a remote location safety and alerts to the workers who may be in very difficult environment, चाहे वो construction site पे हो, चाहे वो माइंस वगैरह में सिचुएटेड हो। तो वो एक और यूज केस था। वही चीज़ अगर हम देखें तो एजुकेशन के स्पेस में बहुत कुछ हो सकता है, इन टर्म्स ऑफ वन टीचर बीइंग एबल टू physically be in one place but virtually in many places, और बहुत सारे बच्चों को अपने ज्ञान से वो उनका विकास कर सकते हैं। और जहाँ तक पैंडेमिक दिखाई दिया है कि टेलीमेडिसिन तो अब हमारे बीच का एक पार्ट ही बन गया है। तो उस विद 5G आई थिंक इट विल ओनली गो टू द नेक्स्ट लेवल। तो और जो इंडस्ट्री वर्टिकल्स हैं, हम आज की तारीख में जैसे आपने कहा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर स्पेस में देख लें, चाहे वो सी पोर्ट हो, चाहे एयरपोर्ट हो, चाहे वो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन और वेयर हाउसिंग और जो FMCG कंपनीज के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी होता है, इन सब चीज़ों में हम देखते हैं कि 5G यूज केसेस का महत्व और बढ़ता जा रहा है, और उससे जो है अपॉर्चुनिटीज जो हैं यंगस्टर्स के लिए बढ़ती जाएगी, और अपने देश की तरक्की भी बहुत जल्दी होगी।
So I was reading your statement, Balaji, about Voda Idea coming out with like the rollouts about 5G. So you study the space very well. So what are the different kind of 5G strategies or infrastructure different companies in India and world over are following, and what is your point over that?
Superb question, Arvind. You're actually looking ahead. तो आप भी कह रहे हैं, आज के टाइम में देखा जाए तो ये, I mean, as you progress in the technology hierarchy, you know it, but for others who are listening in, 2 or 3 things happen. एक तो कैपेसिटी बढ़ जाती है टेक्नोलॉजी से, दूसरी लेटेंसी कम हो जाती है, राइट? ये दोनों चीज़ें सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ें। और इसमें एक चीज़ और जो होता है उसमें, क्योंकि अब लेटेंसी कम होती जा रही है, तो मिशन क्रिटिकल एप्लीकेशन भी यूज होना शुरू होगा। अगर आप पूरे ट्रैफिक सिस्टम को उसके थ्रू कंट्रोल करेंगे, अगर आपके सारे सिक्योरिटी अपैरेटस जो है, चाहे वो कैमराज हों, सर्वेलेंस कैमराज हो, सब अगर आप उसको डिप्लॉय करेंगे इन अ स्मार्ट सिटी एनवायरनमेंट, तो आपकी रिक्वायरमेंट फॉर लेटेंसी गोज इवन एस्ट्रोनॉमिकली हायर, एक्सपोनेंशियली हायर हो जाती है। उस सिचुएशन में नंबर ऑफ साइट्स रिक्वायरमेंट, नंबर ऑफ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर रिक्वायरमेंट गोज अप ड्रामेटिकली। तो टावर्स आज अगर हम 7 लाख की बात करते हैं, 8 लाख की बात करते हैं, वहां से हमें 2 मिलियन पे जाना पड़ेगा। एक वो चीज हो जाती है। फाइबराइजेशन की रिक्वायरमेंट बहुत एक्यूट हो जाती है। आज अगर 35% टावर्स फाइबराइज हैं तो 80-85 करना पड़ेगा, जो आम बात है, सर मैं इंडिया के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में कह रहा हूँ। और ये सारी चीज़ें दुनिया में भी इसी का ये जहाँ पे 5G लगना नहीं शुरू हुआ है वहाँ पे भी ये रिक्वायरमेंट आएंगी। जब कुछ सालों के बाद 6G की बात होगी, तो 2030 की बात करते हैं 7-8 साल में, तो उसकी रिक्वायरमेंट और बढ़ जाएगी। तो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर रिक्वायरमेंट, इंटीग्रेशन विद द स्ट्रीट फर्नीचर becomes even more, and therefore the requirement of physical work, infrastructure work and creation will go up astronomically. और जैसे हम बात कर रहे थे स्मार्ट ग्रिड की बात करते हैं, बहुत ज़रूरी है। तो आज मुश्किल से स्मार्ट मीटर्स 3 मिलियन है, और गवर्नमेंट का विजन है कि इसको 250 मिलियन ले जाना है अगले
Oh
कुछ
my
सालों
God.
में। तो हम कह रहे हैं 100x बढ़ना है। तो एक तरह से वो फिजिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में बात कर रहे थे, जो टावर और फाइबर की बात है, यहाँ पे आप स्मार्ट मीटर्स को देखें तो ये कहानी है। जो आप हमारे जो स्मार्ट एग्री का सोल्यूशन बता रहे थे, जो IMC मोदी जी ने देखा, तो वो हम हार्डली आज की तारीख में 5 लाख फार्मर्स को कवर करते हैं। वो दैट रिक्वायरमेंट इज रनिंग इनटू मिलियंस ऑफ फार्मर्स वी कनेक्टेड। तो द स्केल ऑफ requirement is so high, and the new technology is also evolving so fast that the need, as you said, for the world, not just for India, for skilled manpower and for talented young people who are willing to do the hard work is extremely high. I mean, sky is the limit.
Very good. So, Balaji, you are also vice chairman of COI, and as such, various industry bodies. You practically, I think, are in touch with the whole industry. So, where do you see supply demand gap? Like there is definitely, this is a very hot topic, and Secretary DOT, Mr. Rajaraman, I think, is doing almost monthly review with us on scale gap analysis. So, what is your view or perspective around that?
I think it's an excellent question, and you, I mean, you are in the forefront. The way you're helping design all these wonderful course and curriculum. I think in all the 4 verticals that we spoke about, right, whether it's the uh, devices, if I were to make it larger, but handsets आज है, कल IoT devices उस एरिया की हम बात करें जहाँ पे मैन्युफैक्चरिंग की रिक्वायरमेंट बहुत हाई है, या सर्विस सेक्टर की बात करें जो COI का आप जिक्र कर रहे थे, या पैसिव इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नेटवर्क जहाँ पे टेक्नोलॉजी आती है, और इस पे हम कहें तो सर्विसेज में अब इंडस्ट्री वर्टिकल्स भी जुड़ जाएंगी, चाहे वो स्मार्ट ग्रिड की बात करें, चाहे टेली हेल्थ की बात करें. So in all these areas, I think almost in every one of these verticals, the requirements are only, how do I say, getting more, not less. As technology becomes evolved, the use cases become more and more, and each of the use cases will require, fortunately, more people and more skills. So in each of these areas, I think the gap is only is is widening, and therefore opportunities for youth is much more. तो अगर आप IoT उठा लें तो उसमें ही इतना ज़्यादा काम है कि उसमें ही मतलब हज़ारों लोगों की आज ही ज़रूरत है, मतलब कल की तो बात बहुत दूर की है, तो उसकी ज़रूरत है. अगर हम बात करें मैन्युफैक्चरिंग की, तो आज तो हमारा जो है सिंगल डिजिट में कंट्रीब्यूशन है टू द वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमी, with the semiconductors coming in, with chipset design coming in, fab units coming in, and the number of single digit going to say double digit, even if it is low double digits, it means a huge requirement of people who are able to work in that sector. तो literally मतलब जहाँ आप, as I said, समुंदर है अपॉर्चुनिटीज का, आपको सिर्फ गोता लगाना है और मोतियां मोतियां चुननी कि आप मुझे ये चाहिए, मुझे वो करना है, मुझे ये करना है. Literally you have to make a choice and then get going on it. That's what I see happening in the next at least 1 to 2 decades.
तो एक तरह से बहुत हमको खुशी भी होती है कि आज जो टेलीकॉम इंडस्ट्री के जो प्रोफेशनल्स एम्प्लॉइज जो भी हैं, आई थिंक वे बिकम लाइक अ ट्रेनिंग स्कूल फॉर रेस्ट ऑफ द इंडस्ट्री, चाहे एयरलाइंस हो या ऑटोमोबाइल हो या कोई भी इंडस्ट्री है, लॉजिस्टिक्स इज द लेटेस्ट, जिसमें कि telecom trained manpower is just taken by them, because it is a quick, ready, best performing manpower they can get, because we had to work 24/7 और
No
बहुत
doubt.
ज्यादा बिल्कुल। तो ऐसे सिनेरियो में लाइक जहाँ पे कि एक तरफ तो बाकी इंडस्ट्रीज का काफी प्रेशर है और दूसरी तरफ यूथ काफी हद तक स्टार्टअप कल्चर में बहुत ज्यादा अट्रैक्ट हो रहा है। तो आपकी क्या एडवाइस है कैरियर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से यूथ के लिए कि टेलीकॉम में उनको क्यों स्टे करना चाहिए और आगे क्या उनके लिए फ्यूचर है?
देखिए, एक बात तो ये तय रही कि यू यू सेड इट वेरी नाइसली। आई मीन, टेलीकॉम एंड डिजिटल इज नाउ लिटरली बिकम अ हॉरिजॉन्टल। किसी भी सेक्टर में आप जाएं, आपको उसकी जरूरत है। And it's almost like become an essential part of, should I say, every industry vertical. And imagine from 6.5% telecom slash digital will become, literally much more higher percentage of the total economy. If you look at the spillover, it will be in double digits. And that kind of a growth is not going to be there in any other sector for a long, long time to come. Startups, you're right. There is a problem to be solved. It starts small, and therefore the scale up becomes high. But imagine for a $175 billion digital economy becoming $1 trillion in the next 7 to 8 years, right? That's literally becoming 5.5 to 6 times larger in a very short time frame. Why would any youngster not look at this sector very seriously from a career point of view? And as you said, आप टेक्नोलॉजी कर्व पे आप हमेशा अगर रहते हो तो आप इवन मोर रिलेवेंट हो जाते हो फ्यूचर के लिए. सो द स्किल्स ऑफ टुडे इज वन पार्ट, बट द स्किल्स ऑफ टुमारो टू बी फ्यूचर फिट requires you to be in that space. And I always feel excitement is when you are actually riding the technology wave. Frankly, there's excitement everywhere in India, but I think riding the technology wave, the way telecom teaches you, the way, like you said, we are 24/7, the way the adrenaline is working, तो उसका मजा ही कुछ और है. I think that's what makes it extremely, should I say, exciting for anybody to work in this space.
Good. So I think we had a very, very interesting discussion, and I think both of us, I think on this topic, we can continue a very, very long time. But to make it more interesting, I think I'll have few questions, just to make the discussion interesting.
खुदा
So,
कहर करे.
which is your most favorite song?
It's very difficult. Yeah, back to what you said. No, I mean, मतलब ये तो it's truly India is all about music, right? And of course dance. I think it's a bit of both. And so it's so tough. But yeah, I have somehow always liked uh, songs of the 70s of different genres. Kishore Da is my favorite, but yeah, I equally enjoy singing songs by other legendary singers of Bollywood. So, so no single song, but yeah, I love a
One
lot of
song
Kishore.
you have to tell, like जो आज मूड पे आ रहा है या बात में आपको ध्यान आ रहा है.
No, I would rather maybe mention something around what is relevant for the youth of tomorrow. And I think I'm just reminded that नया दौर का जो गाना था मेरे ख्याल से, I think it's नया दौर. छोड़ो कल की बात पुरानी, नए दौर में लिखेंगे मिलकर नई कहानी हम हिंदुस्तानी. I think in the context of what we are talking right now, I think that would be the most appropriate song that comes to my mind.
बिल्कुल. और आपके आपके सहयोग से हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे
Moving
कामयाब
on.
एक दिन. So Balaji, what is your favorite book?
So, good question. I have I have read a few. I don't read a lot, but I listen to a lot of podcasts. Honestly, मुझे podcast में मजा आता है, and it's also something that I picked up because my wife and daughter read a lot more than I. They really read a lot, but my wife and I watch a lot of podcasts, and I find them interesting because there you hear uh, different perspectives. There, you learn about life. You learn about um, how do I say, a little bit on the spiritual side of things as well. You you become a more holistic person by just listening to a lot of people. So earlier books would do that role. Today, I think podcasts do a lot more for me. And by the way, they don't have to be people like you and me speaking of a certain age. Now I find even some of the youngsters doing podcasts where they can teach us a few things as well, right? So it's really fun to hear the views of all these, should I say, people are willing to do different things and share their experiences and put themselves out there. That's a very unique opportunity to learn, actually.
So, which city in India you like the most and why?
Okay, so so I started my working career, and it was immediately after my marriage that we moved to Bangalore. And so I loved the place for more than one reason. It was the weather, of course, is very obvious. हम लोग दिल्ली में रहते हैं, तो obviously Bangalore का weather is I mean amazing. But the culture there was or is still, I think, very cosmopolitan. There was a lot of excitement and technology and new things happening, innovation happening all the time. तो बड़ा मजा आता था वहाँ पे तो और I think any place that breeds innovation and anything that breeds openness and diversity is what I find exciting. And Bangalore is one such place that comes to mind. But अब तो हम दिल्ली के हो गए तो दिल्ली बड़ा अच्छा लगता है.
Good, thank you. And one country or city in the world which you like the most?
वैसा है मेरा देश महान, मेरा भारत महान. तो
भारत
that's
के
one thing.
बाहर, भारत के बाहर, वो तो बैंगलोर और खत्म हो गया, दिल्ली भारत.
So I guess ये ना हर कुछ सालों में बदलता है और very honestly. I don't know why, but it seems to be. So there was a time when our family was always stuck with the Nordic countries. तो शायद वो एरिक्सन नोकिया का सर था, तो हम लोग काफ़ी वहाँ जाते थे. फिर हम लोगों को बड़ा ईस्टर्न यूरोप से बड़ा लगाव हुआ क्योंकि वहाँ पे भी बहुत and you've been there so often
Yeah.
in your life, so you know the attractiveness of that. And then or when you go to places in Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, again the life the life is so different there in terms of wildlife and people. But the one common element in all of these is कि जहाँ पे हम जाते हैं तो हमें लगता है कि people are very welcoming. People are in general nice. I think the world in general is a nice place, and the should I say the respect for Indians that I see there, right, adds the charm. जहाँ भी हम जाते हैं तो ऐसा लगता है कि when we used to go in the early 90s, it was not it was a different world at that time versus now what we see. So in in every place, the people has to be a common denominator, which makes those places special. But yeah, somewhere it's natural beauty, somewhere it is, the history and the culture. आप रोम चले जाएं तो वहाँ कुछ अलग ही मजा है, because you see just like दिल्ली में 7 capitals हैं, लेकिन there are 7 different parts of the city. वहाँ पे एक के ऊपर एक 7 capitals have been formed. So each place is very unique, and you learn so much about humanity. You learn so much about the human nature of facing challenges and overcoming them. You go to places where you see nature and you realize, my God, we are so small in the larger scheme of things, and you just feel more rooted to Mother Earth than ever before. So there are always different places which give you different perspectives. तो हमें मजा आता है. We as a family love to travel, and it just opens our horizons to new ways of thinking and new perspectives.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your responses. Really loved it. So, at the end, Balaji, I would like to hear from you your guidance, advice to Telecom Sector Skill Council, and also youth who will be listening to this. Sum up remarks from your side.
Arvind, I think TSSC, which you and your secretariat have put together, is built on very sound foundations, and I think you and your team have done a fabulous job on this. You've got all the stakeholders, on a single platform: government, industry, partners, right? To my mind, what you're doing in terms of creating those bridges, the partnerships, is super, super important. Bridges with the government, bridges with the skills ecosystem, bridges with industry, and the connect and the bridges with the youth of today. I think that is the strength. Partnership model and the connect, I think, is the most important strength for TSSC, which will take us forward. And the third dimension to that is what you're always encouraging, which is नए areas कौन से हैं, कहाँ में और focus करना है. And so I think those two or three things is what I would say is happening very well with TSSC and needs to continue even more on a going forward basis. For the youth, I would say, just to summarize, I think digital is going to be super important on a going forward basis, but equally, customer engagement and service delivery in the physical world is super important. Therefore, digital skills, I would say, is going to be very important. India is in a very sweet spot, and for youth of today to dream big, at the same time have the humility that dreaming big alone is not enough. You have to start every day and earn every day a new skill and a new livelihood opportunity, and it will build you for the long run for a very, very, very successful career. Is the other thing I would like to tell the youth. So start somewhere. Don't just dream, but get down to saying, चलो ये मेरा विजन है, मुझे अब उसकी तरफ बढ़ना है. तो एक एक कदम बढ़ाएंगे तो अपने आप जो है बहुत आगे जाएंगे. So I think that's really what they have to figure out. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. But every day you have to sprint a little bit in order to make sure that you complete the marathon. So it's a bit like that.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Balaji. Thank you very much for a great interaction. And I'm very sure that youth of this country, they'll be knowing about 25 years of telecom, the legends who have built this telecom, and also, like the future which this sector offers. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arvind.